Hi there, and welcome to This Day in History for December 22nd. December 22nd is the 356th day of the year in the Gregorian calendar, 357th in leap years, with 9 days remaining to the end of the year. 3 days to Christmas. Yesterday we talked about grateful as a preview to today's word ungrateful. The addition of the prefix un before the word grateful changes the meaning to not grateful, but going from a sense of being pleased to a sense of not being pleased. Indeed, ungrateful is an adjective that means showing no gratitude, so that makes it a word that uses itself to describe itself. If grateful means a feeling of thankfulness, then ungrateful means not having or expressing a feeling of thankfulness or gratitude. The definition of ungrateful goes on to say making a poor return, as in an ungrateful child. So in that case, the ungrateful child doesn't recognize or appreciate things they probably ought to be grateful for and behaves accordingly, bringing a poor return. In that vein, ungrateful can also mean disagreeable, thankless, unpleasant, or unacceptable. We sometimes see it used to describe a situation as well as a person, as in the ungrateful task of cleaning up after the festival, or the ungrateful task of forming a police cordon. Ungrateful, like grateful, comes to us from a Latin word that means pleasing, with the suffix full, indicating that one is filled with a sense of being pleased, and in the case of ungrateful, the prefix un, indicating a state of not being so. First known use of the word is in the 1550s. Ungrateful. Try to find something every day to be grateful for, okay? And with that, on December 22nd in the year 401, Pope Innocent was elected, the only pope to succeed his father in office. Sounds like things were a little different back then. The Library of Congress was founded in 1800 when Congress moved to Washington, D.C. We mentioned before that Congress had been temporarily situated, first in New York City and then in Philadelphia. As of this move, they were in Washington, D.C., and they needed a library. There was a library in New York City. There was a library in Philadelphia. There was not yet a library in Washington, D.C. Its establishment in 1800 makes it the United States' oldest federal cultural institution and serves as the de facto National Library of the United States. Most of the original collection of the Library of Congress was burned by British forces in the War of 1812. Congress bought Thomas Jefferson's entire collection to restore the library's collection and added to it from there. But on December 22, 1851, another fire broke out, destroying a large number of books, including Jefferson's. This is the birthday of singer-songwriters Robin and Maurice Gibb, born December 22, 1948. They, along with their older brother Barry Gibb, were the Bee Gees, a popular music group in the late 1960s and 1970s. I don't know why in the world I didn't know before today that Robin and Maurice were twins. Fraternal twins they were. The Bee Gees sang amazing and distinct harmonies, and they wrote all their own original material. Sadly, neither Robin nor Maurice are still with us. Maurice passed away suddenly and unexpectedly in 2003, having suffered a heart attack after a surgery unrelated to his heart. He was 53, and Robin passed in 2012 after a 2-year battle with cancer. Now, whether it was the cancer itself or the treatment for it, Robin experienced liver and kidney complications, and it was actually the kidney failure that is listed as his cause of death. He was 62. Robin and Maurice Gibb. In the 1970s, America experienced an energy crisis. Our cars weren't as mileage efficient as many cars today are, and I remember long lines to get gas stations that were out of gas and couldn't get any more, and gas rationing. The energy crisis of the 1970s. In response to this, President Gerald Ford created the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, which is an emergency stockpile of petroleum maintained by the United States Department of Energy. This was made policy with the signing of the Emergency Policy and Conservation Act, which came into effect on December 22, 1975. In honor of the birthday of Robin and Maurice Gibb, of course, we'll talk about a Bee Gees song today. This award-winning group made a lot of records. We've mentioned some of them before in previous episodes. 22 studio albums, 2 live albums, 15 compilation albums, 4 soundtrack albums, and 83 singles. The Bee Gees were quite a popular group, so we have plenty of titles to choose from. Let's go with To Love Somebody, written by Barry and Robin Gibb. The story is that the band's manager, Robert Stigwood, asked Barry and Robin to write a soulful ballad in the style of Sam and Dave or the Rascals for Otis Redding. They wrote the song and recorded To Love Somebody in April of 1967, released it in June. Sadly, Otis Redding died in a plane crash in December of that year before he had a chance to record To Love Somebody. But it has been covered by many other artists and hit the top 20 in the Billboard Hot 100 in 1967. To Love Somebody by the Bee Gees. Link in the description. And I think that's going to do it for us today. Thank you so much for watching. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. Feel free to share this video with a link in your email, messaging, or social media. If you enjoy this series, you can check out the playlist that contains these videos. I'll put a link to that in the description. That playlist lives on YouTube, so for other platforms, I'll include a link to my blog page. It's called No Really. You can also find me on Rumble, BitChute, and Odyssey. All those links in that description. Alrighty, that's all I can think of right now. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time. Alrighty, back to work. I think we got it this time.